But to get into the October surprise, the October surprise, of course, is a phrase that was used to describe Ronald Reagan's campaign's outreach to the Ayatollah Khomeini of Iran to hold on to the American hostages that had been taken in 1979, actually. It was, I believe, late in the year, or perhaps early 1980. But anyhow, by the time, October came around, this had become an issue. People were tying yellow ribbons around trees, per the song. And Jimmy Carter had tried to rescue them, and the chopper went down in the desert, and I believe we lost a soldier or two in that. And what we didn't know at the time was that the Reagan campaign had cut a deal with Iran to hang on to the hostages until after the election was over, in exchange for our shipping them spare parts for the American weaponry, which the Ayatollahs had inherited from the Shah. We had armed Iran, the Shah of Iran, and they were running out of spare parts for jets and even tires for their jets. In fact, a whole batch of tires was transshipped to Iran from Israel prior to the election, apparently at the request of the Reagan campaign. So that's where it came from. The other big October surprise was Richard Nixon's campaign blowing up the peace deal, the 1968 peace deal that Lyndon Johnson had worked out with North and South Vietnam. And that, of course, prolonged the Vietnam War and led to the death of an additional 20,000 American soldiers. I suppose you could argue that Jeb Bush, using the felon list from Texas that his brother George gave him, George Bush was then governor of Texas, Jeb was governor of Florida. Jeb using that felon list to purge 70, 80, 90,000, we're not certain of the number, African Americans from the voting rolls in Florida was also an October surprise. There's different ways to interpret that, but and I think you could also argue that the October surprise in 2016 was Republican FBI Director Jim Comey holding a press conference 10 days before the election and saying that it looks like those awful emails that the Russian intelligence service had found on Hillary's server and released in coordination with Julian Assange, that those horrible emails might be also on Anthony Weiner's computer, and we're looking into this again, which shaved 3 points off Hillary Clinton's margins and apparently handed the election to Donald Trump. So anyhow, there's a long history of October surprises, shall we say. But now we're looking at the possibility of an October surprise this fall, and I'm wondering what's it going to be. And I'm wondering, what do you think it's going to be? One possibility is that Putin will do something. I mean, it looks like he's encouraging North Korea right now. He's been, he had these meetings earlier in the year with with Kim Jong-un, the president or premier or whatever his title is of North Korea, and encouraging them in their development of their nuclear program in exchange for the weaponry that he needs to attack Ukraine. And one of the things that has been documented now, which is pretty mind-boggling, is that North Korea has so far provided Russia with more weaponry to use in Ukraine than Europe has provided to Ukraine. So it's kind of asymmetrical. And now, just this weekend, Putin and Xi got together in China, hugging and kissing each other, and Xi apparently has promised to send lots more weapons to Putin to use in Ukraine. So that war in Ukraine is going to get much more brutal. So could this be part of some kind of an October surprise? And if so, could it also lead to World War III? This is my big concern, is that one of these October surprises that Trump and his autocrat buddies are planning might do more than simply put Trump in the White House. They might trigger a world war. And, apparently the discussions right now are about North Korea firing missiles into the demilitarized zone or something worse, a major nuclear test of some sort. China is no longer counseling Kim to dial back his rhetoric. In fact, Michael Schumann wrote an article for The Atlantic titled "Why Xi Wants Trump to Win." Again, these autocrats do not like American democracy. American democracy makes them look bad. Their people start demanding something like American democracy. Tiananmen Square, that 37-foot or 27-foot tall paper mache statue of they called it, was the Statue of Liberty, that led the Tiananmen Square uprising, which China has committed to never allow to happen again. So there's that. There's the possibility that something's going to happen with Iran. You'll recall Trump blew up the Iran nuclear deal, basically signaling Iran that they are perfect. It's fine with us if you develop a nuclear weapon. We don't care. And now the Office of the Director of National Intelligence just issued their annual threat assessment, and they write, and this is our official, the head of our intelligence agencies, right, our collective intelligence agencies, writes, quote, ahead of the U.S. election in 2024, Iran may attempt to conduct influence operations aimed at U.S. interests, including targeting U.S. elections, having demonstrated a willingness and capability to do so in the past. During the U.S. election cycle in 2020, Iranian cyber actors obtained or attempted to obtain U.S. voter information, sent threatening emails to voters, and disseminated disinformation about the election. The same Iranian actors have evolved their activities and developed a new set of techniques combining cyber and influence capabilities that Iran could deploy during the U.S. election cycle in 2024. So there's that. The possibility. There's also the possibility that Netanyahu, who very much wants Trump back in office, it will help Netanyahu's political fortunes. Netanyahu himself is looking at going to prison if he gets, if he resigns or if there are elections in Israel. And, he would love to have Trump back on and back in office. And frankly, every time he commits another war crime, we just saw this weekend, dropping 1,000-pound bombs into the middle of a refugee camp, and then also bombing the nearest hospital at the same time, so that people, when they were, children were decapitated and some 50 some odd people were burned to death. But the hundreds and hundreds of victims who survived that, with major injuries, wouldn't have a hospital to go to. So, that kind of thing just really pisses off young people in particular who are supportive of, or who might be supportive of Joe Biden. His failure to basically do anything about that. I frankly think that Netanyahu crossed a major red line here, and that, this should provoke a complete end to all U.S. support for Israel until Netanyahu's out of office. But, that's just me. But, my point is that Netanyahu may be planning some sort of an October surprise. So a lot of possibilities. The other big possibility is that it's not going to take an October surprise, that the media is just doing everything they can to get Trump back into office. Our media is owned by billionaires, and they don't want their taxes to go up. So, in fact, I'll talk about that right after the break. It's 16 minutes past the hour. Well, it'll be 17 minutes past the hour in just a few seconds. We'll be right back with more of the news of the day and your calls after this.